There's something about a perfect Saturday morning that feels almost sacred, isn't there? The way the sunlight filters through your blinds just right. The sound of your coffee maker humming in the kitchen, that soft fabric of your favorite shirt against your skin, the one that feels like a hug every time you put it on. For a moment, everything aligns. The world feels manageable, safe, yours. I used to treasure these moments. I'd sink into my couch, scroll through my phone, maybe order something online, a new sweater, some gadgets, little things to maintain this bubble of comfort I'd built around myself. It felt like self-care, like I was being kind to myself after a long week. The click of add to cart was a small act of love, or so I told myself, but something started gnawing at me, a quiet voice in the back of my mind that wouldn't be silenced. It started with a simple question: where does this comfort come from? Not the philosophical answer, the literal one. Who made this shirt? Who picked the cotton? Who assembled this phone I'm holding? Who packaged these items that arrive so effortlessly at my door? The more I dug, the more uncomfortable the answers became. Because the truth, the brutal, unavoidable truth, is that our comfort is not created in a vacuum. It's not magic, it's a transaction. And in that transaction, someone always pays a price. The question is, who? That's what I want to explore with you today. Not because I have easy answers, but because this conversation needs to happen. If you believe, like I do, that these uncomfortable truths need to see the light, that the systems of power that keep us comfortable while others suffer in silence must be exposed, then I need your support. Hit subscribe, drop a like. Not for me, but to give me the strength to keep pulling back these curtains, even when what we find behind them makes us sick to our stomachs. There's a concept in economics called externalities, costs that are pushed outside the direct transaction between buyer and seller. When you buy a $5 t-shirt, the real cost isn't $5. It's $5 plus the environmental damage, plus the workers' unpaid overtime, plus their health problems from unsafe conditions, plus their children's lost education because they can't afford school. These costs don't disappear, they just get shifted to people who have no voice in the transaction. The 2024 Ethical Fashion Report revealed that major ultra-fast fashion companies like Shein and Temu scored devastatingly low on labor practices. Shein scored 20 out of 100, while Temu received 0. 89% of companies aren't paying a living wage at any stage of their supply chain. Think about that for a moment. The companies making billions from our desire for cheap comfort can't, or won't, pay their workers enough to survive. Recent investigations found that Shein factory employees work 75-hour weeks in 12-hour shifts, 6 or 7 days a week, producing the clothes that show up at our doors within days. While we're experiencing the joy of unboxing, someone on the other side of the world is working themselves into exhaustion to make that joy possible. Shein itself admitted to finding child labor cases at its suppliers in 2023, yet millions of us continue clicking buy now because the prices are just too good to pass up. But it's not just fashion, it's everything. The 2024 International Labor Organization report highlighted how the increasing global demand for affordable consumer goods, from semiconductor chips to coffee beans, has resulted in the need for cheap labor, leading to instances of human trafficking and modern slavery. Your smartphone, your coffee, your streaming services, your next day delivery, all of it rests on a foundation of someone else's suffering. The most insidious part? The system is designed to hide these connections from us. The supply chain is intentionally opaque, fragmented across multiple countries and subcontractors so that no one company can be held fully responsible. When journalists try to trace where our products come from, they hit walls. When workers try to organize, they're fired or disappeared. When consumers try to make ethical choices, they're told there are no ethical choices under capitalism, so why bother trying? We've created a global economy where suffering is the raw material for comfort, and distance is the anesthesia that lets us sleep at night. I want to thank you for staying with me this far. I know this isn't easy to hear. It challenges the narrative we've been sold about our choices, our impact, our innocence in all of this. But if you're still here, it's because some part of you recognizes the truth in what I'm saying. Take a moment and tell me in the comments, when did you first realize that your comfort might come at someone else's expense? What was that moment of recognition? Your story matters because it reminds us that we're not alone in this reckoning. And if this conversation is resonating with you, please hit subscribe and leave a like. These uncomfortable truths need to reach more people, and your engagement is what makes that possible. The machine that converts suffering into comfort is more sophisticated than we imagine. It's not just about cheap labor, it's about the psychological distance that allows us to participate without feeling the weight of complicity. Every layer of the supply chain serves a dual purpose. It makes production more efficient, yes, but it also makes responsibility more diffuse. When you order something online, you interface with a website, not a person. You pay a corporation, not an individual worker. Your package comes from a warehouse, not a factory. The human cost is systematically hidden behind layers of automation, algorithms, and intermediaries. This isn't an accident, it's by design. As of June 2024, 16 countries had implemented food export bans while food inflation increased between 5 and 30% in low-income nations, yet our grocery stores remain fully stocked. Oxfam's research revealed that millions of women and men who produce our food are trapped in poverty despite billion-dollar profits in the food industry. The abundance in our aisles is directly connected to the scarcity in theirs, but the connection is invisible to us as we fill our carts. The platforms we use, Amazon, Temu, Shein, have gamified consumption to the point where buying becomes addictive. Free shipping thresholds, flash sales, personalized recommendations, one-click purchasing. Every feature is designed to minimize friction, to make the transaction feel frictionless and consequence-free. The dopamine hit of order placed is immediate. The human cost is abstract, distant, deniable. We've become consumers first and humans second. Our identity is increasingly defined by what we buy, what we own, what we can afford. The system doesn't want us to think of ourselves as people connected to other people. It wants us to think of ourselves as individual units of consumption, each pursuing our own comfort and isolation from everyone else. So here we are at the moment of truth. The moment where I stop talking about the system and start talking about us, because we are the system. Every click, every purchase, every moment of willful ignorance, we're not just beneficiaries of this machine. We're the fuel that keeps it running. You know this. Deep down, you've always known this. That slight discomfort you feel when you see the price tag and think, this is too cheap to be ethical, and buy it anyway. That moment when you wonder about the working conditions in some far-off factory and scroll past to the next product. That voice in your head asking, what's the real cost of this convenience? That you've learned to silence. We've become masters of compartmentalization. We can care deeply about social justice while ordering from companies that exploit workers. We can post about human rights while wearing clothes made by people who have none. We can advocate for fair wages while choosing the cheapest option every single time. The most uncomfortable truth isn't that the system is rigged. It's that we've chosen convenience over conscience. We've chosen comfort over connection. We've chosen our individual pleasure over collective dignity, and we've done it knowingly, not once, but thousands of times, every single day. But here's what they don't want you to realize. Our complicity is also our power. The same choices that perpetuate the system can also dismantle it. Every purchase is a vote. Every click is a signal. Every dollar is a form of speech. The machine only works because we feed it. When we stop, it stops. The transformation isn't about perfection, it's about consciousness. It's about seeing the full cost of our choices and making different ones. It's about recognizing that our comfort is not separate from their suffering. They're two sides of the same transaction. And when we truly understand that, we can't unknow it. This is the choice we face. We can continue to live in the comfortable lie that our consumption doesn't hurt anyone, or we can accept the uncomfortable truth that it does, and use that truth to change how we live. The first choice leads to more of the same. More exploitation, more suffering, more distance from our own humanity. The second choice leads somewhere different, somewhere harder but more honest, somewhere where our comfort doesn't require someone else's nightmare. So I leave you with this question. If you truly understood the human cost of everything you buy, what would you still choose to purchase? Hit like if this made you uncomfortable, because that discomfort is the beginning of change. Subscribe to keep this conversation alive, and most importantly, answer that question in the comments below. Your answer matters more than you know. The comfort you crave doesn't have to be someone else's nightmare, but first, you have to stop pretending it isn't.